My name's Amanda Plow, and I am the Marketing and Communications Manager here at Maine Maritime Museum, and I am so excited to introduce Madison Sheppard, a Maine Youth climate activist and environmental advocate. She is a core member of the Maine Youth for Climate Justice and an artist whose work focuses on endangered species. Madison is currently majoring in life sciences at Central Maine Community College with a plan to go into astrophysics. Madison will be joining other activists and policy experts at Maine Maritime Museum for a live panel discussion titled Youth and Environmental Justice, Shaping Climate Policy at 6 p.m. on Thursday, May 25th. For more information, visit the events page on our website at mainmaritimemuseum.org.
This big group of young people making such a big difference. Like it is so rewarding, and it really shows that like youth, we are strong. We know what we're talking about. We are not gonna just give up our futures. We're gonna stand our ground and work for a better, more just transition to a healthier environment and community in Maine. MYCJ is a coalition of a bunch of youth-based or youth-run organizations in Maine. So the whole point of Maine Youth for Climate Justice is to uplift marginalized voices and youth voices to be able to make a difference about the climate crisis and other things that are really important to us. Like, for example, we have a bunch of cohorts at MYCJ. I'm actually the co-lead of the queer cohort at MYCJ. So, we have queer cohort, we have a BIPOC cohort, we have like a high school cohort for like high schoolers going into college. We just any sort of resources that we can give to youth to be able to, educate them, help them along on their journey, be able to get them involved. Like, that's kind of like what MYCJ's like sole purpose is. We've helped host like strikes, workshops. There was a bunch of like online webinars where, we have MYCJ people coming in and, teaching about like, current climate policy. And then eventually I know there was some of the people in MYCJ, and I was one of the people who we went into Maine Youth Action. And that was, instead of being a 501c3, it was a 501c4. So we were able to do lobbying and stuff. And I was the creative director for that for a while. But they are an awesome group because, they're like straight up like getting pushing to get legislation passed, working with people like Maggie O'Neill, Chloe Maxman. And it's really rewarding to see youth, like people as young as in middle school, showing up and just working with adult allies, or sometimes even teaching adults about what's happening like on a legislative level and what's happening on a environmental level in Maine. That's crazy to be able to see like this big group of young people making such a big difference. Like it is so rewarding, and it really shows that like youth, we are strong. We know what we're talking about. We are not going to just give up our futures. We're going to stand our ground and, work for a better, more just transition to a healthier environment and community in Maine. I want to say I saw a picture of it. It was graffitied on the side of a building. And it's like, speak your truth, even if your voice shakes. And that spoke to me because being a shy person, growing up, I was always told you don't know anything. You're just a kid. Who cares about what your opinion is, kind of stuff, which is unfortunately what a lot of youth go through. Is we don't get enough credit. We are kind of like looked over when it comes to important things, and especially when it comes to decisions about our future, which I feel like we should have the say in, because, we're the ones that are going to be like dealing with the consequences. But a lot of the times when I talk to people and they're like, I want to do what you're doing, but I'm scared. They get scared, they get nervous, they feel like that they're not good enough. They feel like that, they're like, like they don't know where to start. Like, you're always good enough. NYCJ is always there for any youth who are willing to come in. We have the training, we have the resources, we have, people who are there as mentors to kind of take you in under their wing and be like, hey, this is what's happening. We're going to tell you what's happening. And then we are going to be there for you every step of the way to make sure that you can use your voice and that you have the resources you need to make a difference in your community. And then, if you're feeling confident enough, go to the State House. Talk to them, talk to your senators, talk to your representatives. It really is, you don't have to know a lot. It's a learning opportunity. We all are constantly learning and evolving. And that's something I cannot stress enough. Don't be afraid. We don't bite. I knew nothing when I first went into this. We will welcome you no matter what. I grew up in Cape Cod, Massachusetts, and I was dead set on becoming a marine biologist as a kid because I really loved sharks. That was my hyperfixation. My mother set me up with this program. You've probably heard of it, Big Brother, Big Sister. And they matched me with a marine biologist or a microbiologist at Woods Hole Oceanographic Institution. Her name was Dawn Moran. And she was absolutely incredible. And we clicked immediately. We had so much in common. I used to go with her to the labs because I was interested in becoming a marine biologist. And I would watch her, do some of her work. And I would meet all her lab buddies and she'd tell me stories. And that just instantly she found, it was the spark I had for just loving, the ocean and the creatures inside of it. And then fast forward, I moved to Maine. We couldn't afford to live in Massachusetts anymore. So we moved up to Maine, lived with my aunt for a bit. And then eventually we ended up being able to live on our own. And around my senior year of high school, my family wanted to go back down to Massachusetts, but I wanted to stay in Maine because I really liked it. So I was kind of on my own, immediately off the bat. I have an aunt, her name's Carly Woods. She interned in this place called Center for an Ecology-Based Economy in downtown Norway, where I worked. And I got to meet, some of the people that work there. And one day they were like, there is a Green New Deal rally happening at the State House tomorrow. Do you want to go? And I was like, oh, I have school tomorrow. Pretty sure I have a math test tomorrow. And I didn't have a way to go, but eventually I was just like, okay, fine, I'll go. And we went up to the State House, and that's just, it kicked off everything from there. I just absolutely fell in love with being able to use my voice, which I never did as a kid. That was when I was very quiet. So I just, it just kind of some wires clicked, and I was just like, okay, this is what I'm going to do. I'm good. Something that I like to tell people is that on this planet, this little planet we have one common language, and that is art. And art is an umbrella term for it's for dance, it's for music, it's for food, it's for, it's all this stuff. So really, you look at something and it makes you feel an emotion. That is, the goal. That's what's supposed to happen. So it was really rewarding when people would look at my work and they would feel it would tug somewhere and be like, oh, this makes me think of this memory, emotion, idea. And it makes me want to do something. It makes me, whether it be to tell my kids about it, or, tell my best friend about it, or, maybe I want to go check out these organizations, or I want to learn more about what's happening with say the polar ice caps or the coral reefs. I want to learn more about this. really, really educate myself. That was the most rewarding part, because it is taking an artwork I made and turning that into an action. And that's the best it can get. Like, that's, peak final goal, I guess is what you can call it. I think it's like late 2019, the wildfires in Australia was happening. And I was just like, being somebody who was watching it from a distance, I'm like, wow, this is really terrifying. Like, I do, I really wish I could like help these people and help the animals in it, but I can't. Like, I'm all the way over here in America. I'm like, 18 years old. I don't know what to do. Like, and I felt moved enough to draw a portrait of a koala bear. And once I finished that piece, I was just like, wow, like that, in a way it was kind of therapeutic, but in a way I could see me being able to take these pieces and either like raise money for certain organizations or be able to just spread awareness about it, which is great. So eventually I started doing more animals. I did like a Sumatran tiger. I did a leopard, green sea turtle. And I was able to do a few shows around my little town of Norway and just be able to spread awareness that way. And then when the pandemic hit, I was out of a job for like 6 months. So I was locked up in my house. And I just spent the entire time drawing. And that's when I really delved into my climate work. I dedicated all of my time to like, hopping on these calls. Like, that's when I met NYCJ and I was hopping onto their core calls. I was, doing like independent, like writing to like newspapers and like trying to advocate for certain bills that needed to be passed. And I would just sit down and I would draw and draw and draw and draw. And then eventually I decided to make stickers. And at first I was doing it, I was making stickers because I was out of a job, so I needed to make money. But eventually I was able to take the funds I was making and donate. I think I raised like over $100 for the Endangered Species Coalition, which was great. That was really, really like nice to be able to see that go through and be like, wow, I did that. That's crazy. And even though $100 doesn't seem like a lot, but it was to some little person like me. Originally, I was going to be going to school for marine biology, and then that switched to normal biology. I was going to double major in biology and astrophysics. And eventually I just settled on astrophysics because my grandfather and my little sibling both like are just huge nerds about space. And my little sibling is somebody that truly inspires me. They are about 2 years younger than me, and I watched them battle cancer for a couple years, and they've come really close to just losing the battle, but they came out victorious on top of it. And I know they've always wanted to go to space, but with certain medical issues, if you've had any medical issues in the past, that you can't go to space. I know that. So I want to be able to get as close to something that will be able to, one, make them proud, and two, just it reminds me of them and how much I love them and how much they inspire me, that it's worth it to completely just go into a field for me and do that, and hopefully one day, like, if I get to, like do something crazy and be an astrophysicist, like be able to like bring them in with me one day and be like, look, like, see, like this thing that you've been, like you would tell me about, teach me about, talk to me about, like, like here it is, like enjoy, have fun. So that's the main reason why I want to go into astrophysics. What is outside our world is something that makes me really curious, and it just like, it sparks this like, I need to know more feeling in me. And I know that physics and biology go together very well. So being able to have a career in physics, but also being able to have background in biology and possibly also have a career in biology, like they come hand in hand with each other. So either way, no matter what happens, like whether I'm helping on the planet about planet issues, which I will always be here for, or if I'm looking outside the planet and, you know, looking out for, you know, what possibly could happen to our planet. Oh, that's such a difficult question because I love so much about the ocean. I personally would have to say is I am a huge nerd for anything bioluminescent. So like if we get into the twilight zone, you get a little bit deeper in the ocean. Once fishes, phytoplankton, jellyfish, they start to light up, I'm like, oh, yes, that's just crazy. So I think the evolution of sea creatures in general, and just like the different ecosystems within ecosystems within ecosystems of the ocean is always so much fun. But it's a very basic cliche answer. But the second fish start lighting up, I'm just like, yeah, that's awesome. That's so cool.